just, oh, there's Tracy. Hey, Tracy.
Hi.
1 second. All right, I'm going to invite you to invite to video. Welcome, everybody. There's Trisha. We are here and we have some special guests. Before we bring our special guests on, just wanted to say hello to everyone. This is the Love and Healing Show, and I'm here with my co-host, Tracy LaFleur, love coach. I'm Carmelia Ray, matchmaker, online dating expert, and relationship expert. And actually, we're so excited because we have two special guests with us today.
Yay.
So Tracy, would you mind sharing who your guests are? And while I do that, our guests, I'm actually going to go ahead and get my headphones because unless you can hear me okay, can you let me grab my headphones and I will have you bring up our guests to introduce them. So excited about this talk. And the topic is, are you choosing love or fear when it comes to dating and relationships? Hey, Trisha. Okay.
Hi. She is. Oh, there we are. See, where are you?
I'm right here. No?
Oh, I don't see you.
We don't see your video.
Click your little video thing there. And Carmelia disappeared too. Well, this is Trisha Takvorian, our first guest here, my sissy and women's life coach, also somatic yoga specialist, sound bowl master. I'm going to say matron.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Excited to be on here.
You'll have to bring me back up.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. No, you're on stage. Let's see. Just figuring it out here. There we go.
All righty. Let's see.
Did it work there?
Are we trying to get Tate up? Oh, there he is.
Yes.
We don't see his face
picture.
Yeah, we're not seeing video right now for some reason.
What's going on here?
Hey.
No,
well,
I don't know.
We're experiencing some technical issues. But while
we can figure it out, we can start talking.
That, yeah, let's try. Let's just
you and then I put you back.
Keep going.
Okay,
right,
so this is also, we'll figure out his video shortly. My main squeeze, men's leadership coach. Take Kirkhoff, figure out your video, sir, so we can get you up here. So this is my
I see my video.
Oh,
you
okay,
see
well,
we are not seeing it for some reason. We're not seeing it. That's the issue.
We
So
are not seeing you.
You know what? Let's try this. Let's for safety's sake, we will get you down and then bring you back up. And maybe what you can do is go off the app and come right back up. And then when we see you, we'll bring you right back up. Sometimes it's like that, or do an update of some sort. We'll try again in a couple of minutes. But Tracy, we talk about topics. I think this is a really important one. From your perspective, what do you feel most people do when it comes to choosing love or fear? And in what ways do you see people doing that?
So what's funny is the three of us just had this conversation and we took a little poll and said, how many people that we know, how many people out there do we think are really choosing love or in a fear-based relationship? And not that everyone is going to want to hear this right now, but most of all of us are in a fear-based relationship. Between red flags, being stuck in our wounding, it is almost what we are conditioned to do. Me and you, Carmelia, have had so many talks about how our childhood wounding just puts us in these patterns that we don't even see. So oftentimes we're in a relationship that we might be claiming to be this love-filled, happy relationship. However, the interaction between us, are we really able to speak our truth? I think that's something we've all been talking about a lot. Can you really be yourself? Do you feel like you are accepted by, there you are, sir. Are you accepted by your partner? A lot of us are sitting in resentment. We're sitting in frustration. We are annoyed of our partner. We are worried about the future. So any of those things showing up, you might think, well, I love my partner, but that is actually an indicator that you are in fear. Or are you afraid to leave? Are you afraid to be alone? Are you afraid to be abandoned? Are you afraid you're not going to find someone? Are you doing well, maybe it can't get better than this? All those things are indicators that you are actually choosing fear. And I think a lot of us don't understand that or see that, so we just continue to do that.
Yeah, I love that. Let's go around our incredible and, may I say, attractive panel here, and let's go.
Oh, you're kind. You're very kind.
Let's go to your soulmate here, and as you said, your main and hopefully only squeeze.
Only
Tate,
squeeze.
Yeah, your only squeeze, your main squeeze. Tate, what do you think about the concept of choosing love versus fear? And can you share maybe an example in where you found yourself choosing fear over love, and what are ways that you can change that behavior, or really identify that, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, again, to Tracy's point, most people live in fear, I think, and it's unfortunate to say, but for my first 36 years or 35 years of life, it was pretty fear-based. And even up until this point, there's obviously things that come up that are fear-based. But when it comes to relationships, I've been married twice. I think we will make that clear. I know my first marriage was very fear-based. I was afraid I was never going to ever, I mean, I was 30 when we got divorced, and I thought my life was completely over with. I thought I was never going to find anybody. There was no self-worth at all in this situation. So everything was out of fear. I didn't even know how to choose love at that point. I think the second marriage, once I had my kid, it was more, I chose the kid, and that was the fear of leaving the relationship, is that I wanted to put the kid first. I thought I might lose the kid. I'm a dad, you know how that whole thing goes. So I was very scared in that whole realm. But it took all of that to figure out, there's really nothing to be afraid of. It's odd. It's a switch that flips kind of in your brain where you're like, you know what, I'm going to have my kid. I'm going to find somebody new. And actually, you're going to find somebody new when you actually love yourself, that is going to mirror that back to you. And it's going to be something that you've never felt before. So
I, first of all, just want to acknowledge you for, your vulnerability and being so open to
that's
sharing
part of it.
that. Being the only male in this panel. And it's great. 3 times a charm, right? I didn't get to hear from Trisha. Trisha, where have you maybe found yourself similar situation? And I certainly will share an example in my life where I chose fear over love, and what I do to overcome that. Because I think that I can speak only for myself when I say that there are times when I can catch myself and know that, yeah, I'm choosing fear over love inside my, relationships.
Yes. Well, I love that I am the single person on the panelist, which I think is great to have everybody share from their perspective of being in a relationship. And I get to share from my perspective of being single, because I can speak to the fact that up until my 36 and a half years of life, that I was pretty much choosing fear in every aspect. And it's so important to note that how we do one thing is how we do everything. So if you're choosing fear in a relationship, chances are you're choosing fear in your career, or that it shows up in other aspects. And it's great because a relationship can just really reflect that back to you. So for me, I mean, again, choosing fear almost every relationship that I've been in. I was with a partner who cheated on me multiple times with multiple people, and I stayed in it because I was scared I wouldn't find anybody. I think that's like one of the number one reasons that people stay in bad relationships, is because they're scared they're not going to find another person. In my most recent breakup, I was with my partner for about 4.5, 5 years. And there were clear indicators in the beginning that this was not my partner for life or my soulmate. There was red flags that I chose to ignore. I think when you ask a lot of people, when they reflect back in their relationship, they'll tell you there were the signs. They'll say that they were the red flags, but they chose to ignore them. So for me, I stayed in this relationship way longer past expiration because being in my 30s, wanting to get married, wanting to have kids, I was really scared about not being able to do that if I didn't stay with this person. So finally, about a year and a half ago, I broke up with him. And I can say now, even though I'm not in a relationship, I am choosing love because I'm choosing the love of myself.
Wow, that's amazing. And, for context, I will say, and because we're all being super transparent and super open, although I'm in relationship, I'm in a separated status with my partner, trying to, not trying, we are in the process of figuring things out. And so, Tate, I get having two marriages, right? I was married the first time, the second time common law, but I have children with both partners. My older two is my first, and we share a 6-year-old who is playing in the background. We're up north in Canada, having a little bit of a getaway and it's my first week with her. So there's, my week, his week, there's all of this adjustment. And when I wanted to share about my choices of fear, the fear of wanting to ask for that separation to begin with, the physical space needed, because in my story, my older son, who's now 17 turning 18, once he started, I don't know if puberty is the thing. I don't know, but I felt like I had two roosters in the house, right? And I can't deal with conflict. And particularly there is my mama bird, and kind of like, I got to protect my son. And then there is the respect you try to give to your partner. And when you see these people at odds and you love both, I just don't want conflict in my home. So for me, it was very, very important to not have that conflict in the house, especially when I grew up with a lot of, similar to you, Tracy, for those who are listening to us for the first time. And if you want to listen to our first episode, you're going to find out and discover things about ourselves, our personal lives, our childhood, that because this show is Love and Healing, we're going to be talking about. So growing up in an environment where you're used to yelling, you're used to dysfunction, you're used to conflict, I don't want that to be a generational situation inside of my family. So Trisha, you're not the only single person, which is great. We're all in these stages, right? And I love that everyone here is reflecting a stage: early relationship in love, figuring things out, and then single and seeking, right? Trisha, are you still looking to manifest that relationship?
Oh yeah, I was maybe going to message you after this show today.
Single, ready to mingle.
All right. Okay. Yeah, perfect. So Tracy, how can we choose? Because I really want to get, for our listeners, an opportunity to say, hey, here's where we had fear and here's what we did to overcome that. Because I think it's so important to have tactical tips in how do we do these things, and what are the examples maybe that we gave, because in our scenarios, whether it's in our current relationship, past relationship, with kids, because we love people, we love children, we love parents. So I think choosing love over fear in dating and relationships is relevant. So Tracy, over to you.
Right. So I was thinking what we were going to talk about when we came on here, and you and Tate being here together, I just thought of how I met you in the first place, which was honestly me claiming love, but it really was in fear in many ways. So as you know, I came to you thinking I was ready, but I also was honestly in a state of feeling like I wasn't really going to find a person, being desperate to find it quickly. But then at the same time, I realized that my expectations were also fear-based. I was trying to claim, and that's the thing too that we can bring an awareness to people, is checking in with yourself. I think that's number one. Is it fear or love? Am I claiming it's love and it's fear? And again, me and Trish like to tell a lot of our clients, explain that fear and love are vibrations. And so fear also just means when you're in resentment, when you're in frustration, any of those lower vibe emotions. So it's like, where are you coming from in that moment? And so there was a part of me that was ready and open. And then there was a part of me, again, in a fear I wouldn't find somebody, let's do it quickly. But then a part of me too that's like, maybe after a 9-year relationship with a level 10 narcissist, all that programming that I got was like, maybe I can't really find love. Maybe I'm not worthy of love. Maybe I can't really truly be loved. So as you know, I came to you with a list, like a 95-page list of things of this person. It was like this mythical unicorn. And what I realized later is that list was in fear because that person really couldn't exist, right? It was like all these things to make this perfect person. That perfect search is actually in fear. And again, a lot of us want to claim, no, it's love. I just love myself so much. But when you really do, you're actually open. You're open to sometimes relationships hurt. You're open to there has to be a growth period in relationships, or maybe we're not going to get along perfectly, or whatever those things are. And so that is how I ended up finding Tate. Was I realized that all the outside things on the list meant nothing. That was all my fear that was going to keep me always from finding love. And choosing love, again, was choosing myself. You have to choose yourself, choosing what I want, and being open. That is how we can find love. Be open. Can I be open to all the things? Can I be open to a new perspective? Can I be open to a new experience? So even if you're in relationship, you know, if it's a fear-based relationship, you got to check in first. It's the awareness. Am I in this relationship because I truly love this person, or am I staying again because of fear? I fear, like for me, I felt like I was never going to make enough money to leave, and that was like a huge thing, or you know, whatever. If you tune in and say, you know what, no, I am in it because of love, but there's fear that's pulling us away. Same applies to finding this new relationship. Can I take a new perspective in this relationship? Can I start to try to see my partner differently or hear them? Because when fear takes over, we can't see, we can't hear, we don't really know what's going on. Again, we're blocking for whatever our trauma is trying to protect us from. So we have to check in, can I even be open? And that's something that you could actually even feel in your body, which Trish maybe could even talk about in a minute, because she loves to get into the body, where it's actually a felt sense thing. A lot of people might be listening going, what do you mean? I am in love. Wait, maybe I'm not. Maybe it's fear. So there is actually ways that we could check in and do that, which is something that we do teach in coaching too, to help you through that. But, you know, anything in love is choosing the higher thought, choosing what feels good. So if you're sitting there in relationship and it's like, well, every day that I sit next to my partner on the couch, I feel like I want to stab myself in the eye with a fork. Definitely you are in a fear-based relationship, right? But if you're sitting there, you know what? We feel so disconnected, but I would love to hold his hand right now, but I just don't want to. You know, when you're in a fight with somebody, it's like, I really just want to hold their hand. I'm actually getting emotional, like going through this, having this before. Like, you know, I want to hold their, I wish I could give them a hug. Like, I wish they could kiss me. But, you know, you're holding on to your fear. Oh my gosh, I don't want to let my walls down. I don't want to let them in, you know, whatever the case. Again, you know, you are in love, but you're letting the fear take over. So it's that awareness first. And then how can I soften? How can I choose the joyful thought? The joyful thought right now is, I'm going to let go of that fight we had because I just really want to hold your hand so we could be connected. And then you start to move into that space. Once you start to find connection again, you know, you can work on the relationship, and then that's a whole nother thing. But it's really tuning in, like, what is really here for me? Because most of us don't want to tune into that. We're running away from it. Oh, everything's great. It's great. Didn't you see what I posted on my Instagram? We're like the best couple ever, except for, yeah, like when we go home, all we do is fight, and then we sit on opposite sides of the couch and we don't like cuddle, and we, I don't know the last time we went on date night, but like, wasn't that a cute picture I posted, you know? So a lot of us just want to rug sweep, but tuning in first, I think, is the biggest thing. So even for me coming to you, it was like, oh, whoa, hey, I'm not really open to love. I'm claiming that I am, but I'm not even open to love right now, because this crazy list, this is like a 50-year search of a person that doesn't exist. So it was opening to, what does my heart want? Well, my heart wants a partner who's actually going to accept me more than anything. I've never felt accepted. Who's going to hear me, who doesn't think that I'm way too much, because I am way too much, and thinks, no, you're great just the way you are. You know, started tuning into what my heart wanted and those joyful thoughts. And then, you know, that brought this match in. But do you want to share a little, Trish, with us on the body? Oh, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no. I will
just
comment
thought you could give a tip there.
Us working together, but I definitely want to hear from Trish. And Trish, before you talk about body, I have a specific question regarding body, because a lot of times people have an intuition, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going to consider you the body expert in terms of like trying to hear your body and what your body says. And there's trauma in the body, and the brain, from what I understand in research, fear and love or lust, they're very similar in terms of how they feel, in terms of the physiology, right? Your heart races. Like, what's a way that in our body we can tell if this person that we are with, is that the butterflies? Like, when is it the butterflies and when is it what is this feeling? Like, should I be afraid of it? Yeah, is it a warning? Because a lot of experts and dating experts will say, hey, just because you have that strong chemistry, don't confuse that for true attraction, right? In fact, oftentimes heavy chemistry in the beginning is a warning sign that it's one sign that yes, there's lust and chemistry there, but it doesn't mean, it's not the end all be all that this is your person. I think it's a massive mistake that people make looking on the first date for that. And if it's, I just didn't feel it. And I'm like, I think, and that's what I want to comment to you about, Tracy, is when you, even though you had your list and you're coming to me and you're an exceptional, beautiful woman, and I'm like, okay, it's great. I meet entrepreneurs like you all the time. They have this list because they know what they offer. And it can be challenging trying to fit a human into that box. So I'm gonna go to you now, Trisha, in terms of like, talk to me about when there's a lack of chemistry, and should we be looking for that body sensation on date one? What's your opinion?
Well, to be honest, I feel like Tracy has actually spoken more about this in terms of like just from the relational aspect, and how when you first come into partnership that there are a lot of those specific hormones that are released, those like what is it, love chemicals,
dopamine and
oxytocin,
serotonin.
Dopamine, serotonin. Dopamine is when you swipe right and it's a match. It's like, oh, I want that hit. That's dopamine. Oxytocin is the cuddle drug after you have sex and you climax, and it's like, oh, this is my person, So that's why you try to defer sex in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
so I think
it does make that connection.
Yeah, Tracy could also speak onto this because we've had this specific conversation before. But again, I think the idea is that we are ignoring signs. So we'll notice like one small thing, like we can have one small thing in common, and we'll kind of latch onto that. Oh, you like hiking? I like hiking too. Meanwhile, all these other things that don't match up. Oh, you say you don't want to get married. Oh, but maybe you'll change your mind one day. So we kind of are ignoring those red flags because we are trying to fit that person into the box. But I think in terms of like the physical things that kind of happen into the body, Tracy, you can probably speak a little bit more to that. And then I can speak about the other body stuff.
Right. Well, what I'll say is, so again, we just actually did a room on wisdom in this where we talked about love and fear as more, not even quite relationships, but just as what they are energetically. And again, love is up here and fear is down here. And love is joy. Love is laughter. And fear, again, is like frustration, anger, all those things. So yeah, when you say that they're similar in your body, it is as it's an intense experience, but love is expansive and open, and fear is contracting and dense. So the chemicals, could come in and you're having the things, and you're right about the swipe. Yeah, it's like literally like someone just like, oh yeah, okay. And when are we going on a date? Do you want to go like right now? Like I'm ready, like I can put on my makeup, like you're like super,
excited.
But when but we all do have intuition. They always talk about like, the gut health and the gut check, but it really is like, probably talk about that forever too, but like literally we have the gut intuition and it does speak to you, but you check in with it because you might have the butterflies and you might have the dopamine and the things, and this feels great, but every single one of us, if we honor it, you sit there for a moment, and again, the red flags are there, whatever. You will feel contracted or you will feel open. You might feel a little in your stomach. You might still have those butterflies because, he's pretty hot. Honestly, okay, he's pretty hot. I kind of want to make out like, I probably had sex on the first date even because he's pretty hot. But the way he just talked to that waitress, and then he said that thing about, so you still might have the chemicals. You're still feeling it. It's the rush. But when you tune into your body, again, this is for like the next level person who really wants to check in. Some people would be like, what are you talking about? And they're just there for that swipe, right? But for the people we're talking to that really are like, I'm ready to choose love. I am sick of swiping. I'm sick of these shitty relationships. then think about this really, because we all do have this system in our body that tells us. So it's there, and it's that and I'm sure anyone listening right now can tune into that and remember that feeling of what I'm talking about. And even if you think about anything that's fear-based, it might make your shoulders want to go in. Like, you could just think about somebody who is a red flag, and if you suddenly look at your body, your shoulders will go in, our hips go in, because that's our trust center. You might feel a feeling in your chest. So there are body sensations. A love feeling is open, it's expansive. It's almost like you're like a tunnel in your body. Like, you'll notice like your shoulders go back more. There's like tingling actually in your heart space, where it's not like the overall, it's not just in the head. So yeah, these are a lot of little things. But if you are this person who's really like, oh, I want to know, I mean, our bodies are so intelligent. And like you said, the trauma is in the body, but all the emotions are in the body. So it's all there speaking to you. You just have to ask it. And again, a lot of us don't want to, because like that situation of the guy that's like the total douchebag that you know, but he's so hot, so you don't want to hear it. It's like, oh, I'm just going to ignore that. The more you're ignoring it, your stomach might be a little bit more, you know, and I'm going to ignore that. And then you go and then you sleep with him that first date, and then he doesn't call you the next morning. And then I will tell you that stomach is going to be like blaring. And if you recall the night before sitting at that table, you'd be like, it was there. I knew it. I knew it when he said it to that waitress, right?
Yeah.
And it's there. So, you know, it takes the person that wants to tune in and check in. But when you do, again, I could say that fear is an ickiness, for lack of better words, and it's going to feel contracting, and love feels open. It feels expansive. Like, in, you know, I do womb massage is one of the other things that I do aside from coaching. And when I do an actual physical womb massage, I mean, I've even done it on Tate, I do it on men too. It's, you feel this openness in your body when you are clear that you may have never felt before. I have all women tell me like, what is this like? It's almost like this floating, because all of the ick is like out of there. And that is that love vibration. It's open, it's freeing. And the other is going to feel like that condensed heaviness.
So I love all that. I have a question for Tate, because we all shared from a perspective where we found ourselves operating out of fear, and then shared a tip. Tate, where have you noticed, previous to meeting Tracy, where maybe in a dating experience or in a past relationship experience, where you felt like your partner or the person you were dating was operating out of fear? And then what did you do to try to help that person or guide that person? Because I coach, we now, I can speak for myself, Tracy, Trisha, now that we are, you know, experts in our field and across many, many people that are operating out of fear, we can say and do things. Give an example of where you were dating somebody and you could just kind of tell they were operating from fear, because there could be people who are listening, men and women alike, that are dating somebody fear-based and not sure how to approach it and not sure what to do as a partner, because we can also, depending if they're aware, they can be very sensitive to that, or maybe act in denial that they're in fear, right?
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, I think, as cliche as it sounds, when it's like when you know. Tracy and I, obviously, we met online. We talked for a month before we met, so there was communication, there was a connection, there was things in common, there was like ideologies, things like that. So we had that foundation to begin with, and then, you know, she took the leap of flying all the way up here to meet me, and so there was. I mean, our first night together was awkward. There wasn't, and it was mostly my fault. I was, obviously, when I saw her, I picked her up, I hugged her, I kissed her. Like, I knew, like, she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. It was pretty much instantaneously for me. But to Tracy's point, like, the gut, it was like I went backwards and was like, is it just because she's beautiful? Is it just because we had these fun conversations? But after, you settle in and you start to really talk and get into things, it's okay. This is for real. This is a real, genuine person. And I think both of us had come into it. I mean, I was divorced my second time in early 2018. So I had not dated anybody seriously most of that time. I think I dated a couple girls here and there. So there was not a lot of experiences for me. I went on dates, but it was that dopamine thing. It was the quick, okay, cool, let's go have a drink and let's see if this is going to work out. And you get there and it's like, ugh, she's not who she says she was, or ugh,
Right.
I mean, guys do the same. Guys do the same thing. We look at you, we're like, oh, she's hot, I'll make an exception. It's really it's sad, but for me, I had to come to the point of like, okay, dude, you can do this the rest of your life. It's not that difficult. You can sit here and have these fleeting conversations that don't mean anything, or you can choose yourself and you can choose to actually dive into something and make a conversation and really, you know, with Tracy too, like, there's a lot. We have 4 kids between us, so this isn't like the easiest thing for us to do. So there had to be legitimate reasons why I would, want to meet this person. And same for her. Like, I lived 8 states away. I have a kid. I have an ex. So it was really coming down to like, okay, I want to find something that means something to me. I've done this a couple of times. I've been alone basically for 40 years. I really want a partner. So when you get into this conscious like state of, okay, I'm going to choose this, it changes the game. And then when you get into the relationship and now there's conflict, your mindset's completely different. It's not the swipe left, I'm just going to fuck it and run. It's, okay, I really care about this person. I'm going to hear her out. She's going to tell me what she needs. I'm hopefully going to be able to respond correctly and actually work through a problem versus just being like, I'll just go back to the apps or I'll just go back to whatever. And I think, Carmelia, something you provide for people is that real, okay, I'm actually looking for something. And I think that's great. And, Tracy and I, Trisha, we're all working on that too, to try to bring people together, because what we're learning and with each other. And I know Tracy's been doing this much longer than I have, but it's so fun to like share this experience, because so many people out there right now want this. Whatever's going on in the world, there's like this awakening and there's just like crazy, like everybody loves. It's cool. And it's a real opportunity for people to like sit back and say, I can really find someone that actually cares if I just sit back and choose myself.
I think most people, especially the shows that, like, when you think about Netflix and why Love is Blind and Indian Matchmaker and Too Hot to Handle and even the one that I binge watched lately was The Ultimatum. I don't know if you guys are TV watchers at all. Did you guys see that at all?
No.
Any of these shows? Okay. Anyway, like the
I think
Ultimatum.
I watched Love is Blind first season.
What did you think? Just real quick.
Too.
As a sidebar, what did you see? Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I think people are a fan of love. Like, they just want to see people
of course
connect and win, right? And oh my God, how many examples of fear within that show, Love is Blind, including Love is Blind 2, where fear everywhere. I don't want to do this. I don't know. Like, it's all like, I don't know, and blah, 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 instead of like going with it. And then, of course, Tracy, when you came to me, whether you say not just desperation, I think you yourself were like, I wouldn't say desperate. You were committed to you were ready to address a part of your life that you weren't addressing. You were just kind of not necessarily coasting, but like, if it happens, it happens. And you wanted to be intentional, right? And that's the difference. And I don't know where you were at, Tate, but once you met her, and as you said, you connected and committed and realized, hey, I don't want to be in a relationship where it is that easy to just swipe again, right? It's that easy to just F it, and go, forget it, I'm going to start over. But then again, where's that substance? A recent conversation a recent interview that I watched was with Esther Perel and Lewis Howes, and it was on the 6 mistakes that people make. But one of the things I want to state with Tracy is when you talked about this list, and Esther said, nowadays, people expect everything from that one partner. They expect this person to be their business partner, their lover, their personal trainer, their financer, their step parent, like all of this shit in one human being. And it's a lot of pressure, for the other human being. And for me as a matchmaker, to sit across from that, you know how difficult it would be, Tracy, if you really wanted that person and you really
man.
were inflexible.
I don't think we would have ever found that. It just doesn't.
Because nobody would have been
exist.
good enough. Nobody would have been.
No,
been
and
good
that's
enough
again
for
the
you.
thing, though, the fear that was pushing it away from me. And I say this a lot. I think we all want to talk about self-love. It's everywhere. It's all over Instagram, and it's on pillows and memes and cute things on your wall and all that shit. But really, what is self-love? And we are truly in our self-love. Again, what we tune into, the loving vibration, are the inside things. And another tangent, but like even when we talk about manifestation, you never want to actually have the thing. It's not about the man or the marriage. It's not about the house or the $1 million. You always manifest. It's the feeling that the thing brings to you. So like, that's what I realized with Tate was like all of these outside things. Those are just all my protector parts trying to keep me actually from having love. Because the inside, again, was to be heard, was to be seen, was to have true partnership. And also to speak on what you said about like putting all the things in one basket for another person that you're looking for. That too comes from the wholeness piece. We like one of like, I think the worst phrases, like Jerry Maguire, like you complete me. And
yeah.
God, me and my sister, I feel like we lived off of that forever. You complete me. And the whole other half, you're my other half, you're my other half.
As if you're incomplete. That's what the statement states.
And I think Tate said that a couple of times in the beginning. I was like, no, you're not my other half. We're two wholes. And we only found each other because we've done the work on ourselves. Look, there's moments we're not perfect too, where we do crumble into like a little quarter. We're not even a half, but that's okay. That's what we do. But we're two wholes. I'm not dependent on him for anything, but I enjoy having it. I don't need him to do a thing to complete me or fill me up. Like, I think I used this example with you. I can't remember, or a room I was doing with Trish, but I needed like a screwdriver or a wrench for something. And I was like on the phone with him and he's like, well, if I was only there, and I was like, no, I will do it myself. But at the same time, if he was there, it'd be like, it's a silly metaphor, but like, hey, you could help me with this, but I don't need you to because I can. Mm-hmm. If I'm having a bad day, I would desire that my partner would be there to hear me out and listen to me and maybe nurture me, make me feel better. But at the same time, I am in enough self-loving space that I could take care of it on my own. And that wholeness is actually when you can ask for that partner. So most of the time, the things on that list, again, whoever's claiming, oh, I'm just in my deservingness so much, you aren't, because your list would probably be a lot shorter. Your list would just be those core real things about who that person is on the inside. And again, that inside is going to be that reflection of you. It always is. Like my relationship with my ex, after I finally broke up with him, so many people looked at me and were like, okay, thank God. I didn't want to say anything, but how in the hell were you with him? Like crazy things. And I never wanted to just sit there and like bag on him. I'm like, whatever, I keep that in my inner circle. But more than anything, what I had to be so honest with myself was for my healing. When I called that partner in, I was in my lowest self-worth. I truly was. I was in one of the worst rock bottoms of my life. I was drinking so much. I was out every night. I was like selling myself to the highest bidder. Like, oh yeah, you like me. Oh, great, cool. Like, it was ridiculous. And I had a job situation. I had a money situation. I had just turned 30, all that happening. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to have kids, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, I have to find someone now. And of course the narcissist comes along who's the love bomber. And it's like, oh, you want to get married? We could get married tomorrow. You want to engage? We were engaged in like 3 days. Like, let's have a baby 6 months later. Like, no problem. Because I was so desperate. I'm never going to have this. And I called him in. So unfortunately, at the time of my lowest self-worth, I called in the person with the matching lowest self-worth. Problem is, for him, I started doing all the work on myself. I became a coach. I became my own healer. I became a healer. I started doing all the things. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, like almost like that blinder came off. How am I in this? Mm-hmm. So, then after, I bring in the new reflection of my new self-worth, again, as somebody else who's done the work or committed to do the work. Tate, even like I'm way too much. I'm texting him at like, this is my thing to everyone around me. I'm texting you at like 4 a.m, but I'm like, oh my gosh, this, oh my gosh, that, sharing things, like healing things. You should read this. You should do this podcast. And he's open for it because, he wants it too. He's ready. So, that is a reflection too, like someone who wants to be in a growth mindset, all of that. But yeah, we have to get, the love and fear is really self-responsibility and being accountable for where you are at. Anyone who's sitting here right now realizing they're in a fear-based relationship, but thinking, but they're the one I'm the healed one, or I'm on top, or it's his fault, it's her fault, whatever. You got to look at yourself first, because it's your actual fear and you're not full, true loving of yourself that is bringing that in. And also there's probably a part of you, like you said, that is putting everything on that person. Oh my God, well, my husband's not doing this for me. He's not doing that for me. He's not, being all the things, the XYZ, and therefore this is a failed relationship and he's not perfect. So again, you got to check in. Maybe he really isn't perfect for you and it's not right. Or maybe you're just blaming him for everything that you haven't healed in yourself. I think that's a huge thing too. We don't recognize what we're putting on somebody else when we're in our own fear.
I love all of that. And I think that the replay, we got to share this replay because there's just so many gems here. Let's all give our audience, or for those who are listening and those who will be listening, a specific tip that they can, one, how do they invite more love in their life? And two, what can they do when they're operating from a place of fear? Who wants to go first?
I will.
Okay.
Are we in class?
Yeah. It's kind of a phrase that's going around right now, but I love it. It's getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So if you want something real, something genuine, something profound, you have to try and you have to put the work in and you have to listen and you have to be willing, like Tracy says. It's so easy to do what we talked about. It's so easy to go to the next. But there's nothing profound about that. There's nothing to write home about. Like, I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave my kid a legacy. I want him to know that his dad was not only a great father, but he was a great husband. He was a great partner. He was a great leader. And those things take time and they take effort and they take work. So you have to be, and it's not easy. It's totally uncomfortable. I mean, Tracy said it. She's a lot. But I fucking love that. Like it drives me to do more. It drives me to be more. I'm up at 4:00 in the morning with her. Yeah, babe, I got it. Yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that. So, and not that we're perfect, we're not, but having that willingness to just do whatever it takes because you've actually found the love in yourself that's mirrored in the person that you're with.
I love that. I love that as it's kind of both encompassing to getting more fear, more love, and removing fear. Can you just give a distinct tip to when you feel fear? What is it that you say to yourself or ask yourself or do to kind of get that out of the way?
Sure. I mean, it comes up. I have a child whose mother is pretty, maybe the female version of Tracy's ex.
Okay.
And so for a long time, it was like, oh my God, she's going to take him from me. She's going to take him from me. And it took, with Tracy's help and like being conscious of like, is that really going to happen? Is this really going to go, like, is she really going to take him? No. So there's nothing to be afraid of. So you have to like take a step back. And I've said this before with Tracy is if you want to take on a fear, you have to step back and assess it so you can get ahead of it. So you really have to like look at what makes sense here. Is this real? And everybody in this room knows that fear is an illusion. So it's not real. It's nothing. So, a tip would be to really just take a step back and look at what's inside, what's going on, and does this really scare you? Because chances are, actually, there's nothing that's to be afraid of. So it doesn't matter.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love it. Trisha, do you want to go next?
Yes. So I think it's so important to note in terms of when you're making choices from love or fear, like we've talked about, it's a vibration, it's an emotion, it's a felt sense in the body. And I think so many of us are so disconnected. We're not really able to distinguish those different types of emotions and feelings in the body. So when you're choosing something that's in love, whether it be for yourself or for a partner, it feels good. It feels in alignment. It feels expansive. It feels light. It's present. It is present. When we're making choices out of fear, because fear is the lowest vibration, it feels heavy. It feels dense. It weighs you down. It's no wonder so many people feel so tired and so exhausted, and they always are trying to come up with these reasons. Oh, I just had this really long day. Or because the energetics of fear, what are you worrying about and what are you stressing about and where are you putting your energy that's actually causing that exhaustion? So we're not ever really getting to the root of the problem, which is that our body is always communicating to us. So I think building your trust centers and that intuition and connecting to yourself that your body is going to give you the answer. And the other part I will speak into, which is definitely like a conversation for another day, because Tracy knows I love nervous system, is when we are making a decision where fear is coming up. And so, for example, I can speak into a fear of when I used to do an Instagram live, I used to feel terrified, like fear to press that button. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. My palms are getting sweaty. I have that pit in my stomach. There's a part of my body that feels like I could die. And that may sound really crazy to somebody to be like, I'm going to die. But there's a part of me that feels that way, like deep within my nervous system. So whether that for you, when you feel anything where you start to feel that fear come up, if it's taking some deep breaths and really centering into what's present, because fear wants to keep us stuck. And fear is based on the past because we're always looking for this sense of safety. So we want to say, where does this feel familiar? And where have I seen this in life? Like the fear of rejection or abandonment in relationship and how often that comes up, chances are somewhere that you've experienced that in life. So you're always trying to protect yourself. But again, that's the illusion that keeps us stuck. And that's really what fear is designed for. So again, choosing love, it's a really felt experience and sense in the body.
Oh my God, I love that. Okay, I'll go next and then Tracy, and then we'll wrap up. And when we wrap up, I want you guys to share what people should be aware of. I know you got some cool things going on. So for me, having more love in your life, I'll start with doing things you love. Okay, simple tip. I think like I'm out here right now. I invited some friends. I'm at a cottage and I'm with one of my girlfriends. She's my makeup artist. She's like, I said, come out with your kids, come hang out, do stuff. And she's like, oh my God, I don't remember the last time that I a lot of single moms do that. The last time she did anything for herself. It's almost like this guilty sense but she loves it. And so I think if you want to have more love with your life, start with the self-love. We are all fans of it here. The more you love and pour into yourself, the more you realize that, hey, you want more of that. You don't need it from anybody. So when you can be responsible for your own happiness and doing things that you say you were going to do, but you didn't do it, just do those things. I think that's one tip that I can give for choosing love. A tip to overcoming fear, similar to, here's a question I do ask myself, right? Because if you've got that why or that goal, you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? Or I always say, what do you have to lose? I mean, what do you have to lose, really? If you're already afraid and like it couldn't get worse or better, these may be cliche questions, but I do ask that of myself sometimes, and I'll be like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? Now, if you've got an imagination like myself, that may not be a great question because you can think of all kinds of things. But I really think it's more like, seriously, what harm is actually going to happen and what's the benefit if what happens if it works, right? Mm-hmm. That thing that you're afraid of. What if you get the result you want? And so really measuring that, is it worth it? Oftentimes my answer is yes. So just suck it up and do it, right? So over to you, Tracy.
Love that. So yeah, going with that and like what Tate said too about like getting behind the fear, something me and Trish always say with clients is it a capital T truth? When you really ask yourself, is this the truth? Because again, when you get into consciousness and like spirituality, like all fear really is an illusion. Like what you're saying, like what is the benefit? Is the bad thing really going to happen? In all honesty, something good is always going to happen. We might go well, it's not the way I wanted it to go, but if you are able to tap in always, there's a lesson. Or, they always say like, maybe it's you thought you wanted this job and you didn't get it and you think it's the worst thing ever, but then the next job comes that was even better with more money and you realize, oh my gosh, thank God I went for that. I was so scared. So your thing is always coming to you. That's how the universe works. You ask for something and it's always coming. The fear gets in the way and that's going to stop you. So whatever it is in the way, again, it's asking like, is this a capital T truth? Is it really, really, really true? Because more often than not, if you allow yourself, you're going to really tune into the fact that like, no, it's not. Even like even the example of, oh my gosh, would my ex be able to, take my kid? In the moment, you might be scrambling, oh my gosh. And then it's like, wait a minute. Hello, we have a court system. Hello, all the things. So it's like, no. And even still, how far along would that process be for this to happen? And now I'm in the future and I'm talking about what's happening right now here today. Capital T Truth says nothing's happening here today. I'm sitting on my couch thinking about this. I think that's a huge thing too. Me and Trish say the same thing, also presence. If you're in fear, you can't be present. You're in the past or you're planning the future based on the past. But right now in this moment, the thing that you're afraid of, no matter what it is, it can't even happen because we're just sitting here, right now. We don't even know what it's gonna be. So yeah, you take the leap. For me, I think we've been like throwing this phrase around too. It's just, what would love do is the question for me. If I'm feeling in fear right now, what would love do? Love always takes the higher perspective. Love always chooses the thing in joy and in happiness. So like even today, me and Tate have a conversation and he said something about, I'm feeling really, sorry, it's got something in my eye. I'm feeling really overwhelmed about something and blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what, we could even reframe that to a higher perspective. Yes, you have a lot of things, but what if the overwhelm was good? What if it was like, oh my gosh, I have it could be like, I have so many things on my plate. Same sentence. I have so many things on my plate. I have so many things on my plate. This is so cool. All these things are about to happen. Yeah, it might be a lot and I'm a little bit busy, but that might not be someone that someone said, that's what love does. That's the choice that love does. The love of life, love of yourself, love of your purpose. You know what? I'm going to get through it. So to me, what would love do is choosing the thing, again, tuning into your body. Does this feel good to think overwhelm? No, overwhelm goes to that bleh, ick. But, this is cool. I have so much going on. I'm about to create all this cool stuff. That feels good. So that's my biggest tip when you're in that moment. Is it a capital T truth? Because you're going to always find out in the moment it's not. You have everything you need in this moment. Like no one's coming after you. You're breathing. You're sitting in your house. You're whatever. Like you could save it for when it comes to it. But at the time it comes, it's probably way worse than you thought it was going to be. And then what would love do, which is a higher perspective. What feels good for me to think right now? Or what feels good for me to do right now? Like you said, what feels good? What would love do? Love wanted you to go to that cottage, right? And go take that time and to be there instead of having fear or guilt or whatever, right? So I think those are the two biggest things, even though they're also so tiny, that you start to implement that every day and then see how things around you start to shift.
In your saying that, and I think it's great, you could ask yourself, what would fear do? Right?
Yeah.
What would love do and what would fear do?
Totally.
Shit, I'm doing what fear does.
Right.
That's that, right?
Right.
Like love wouldn't do that. Fear would do that. Or it's like good wolf, bad wolf, that devil and angel thing. So
yeah, for sure.
I love that. All right. So for those who are listening, my only request, if you are single, if you are in the state where like with clarity, you would like to attract the right partner, I welcome you to join my singles network, speak to one of my consultants and see if we can help you find love. And of course, if deeper in the conversation, you may need to gently guide yourself mentally before you come to me. We've got these incredible coaches that can help you out. Ladies, what are you working on for people who want to work with you? What are you excited about right now?
Well, right now
What are you guys excited about?
Well, we're launching a program called The Breakup Room. Super excited that we are all going to be involved in. Helping you come back from heartbreak, but really, again, returning to love with yourself. A lot of stuff with the body, the nervous system, all our favorite stuff. Doing a lot of different tips, different things. We kind of had this idea when we thought about it first. We were like, what is it that you want to do when you want to break up? You want to start swiping. You want to get out the wine. Maybe you want to text your ex, all this stuff that you do. And we're like, what if we had a space where instead of doing the crazy thing, it could be loving and supportive, and we could give you ways to actually help move some of the sadness and the crap out of your body in a space, a container where we all come and share. And we are like, this could even be for someone who's married, but you had a breakup 10 years ago that you never got over. Like we talk about, the trauma is always there and we'll carry it. Maybe showing up in your relationship is fear that the thing that happened to you 5 years ago is going to happen again. And now you have this relationship where you're always holding, your partner back because, so it could be for so many people, so many different types of things. It's really meant to just be really supportive, again, give you even just embodied tips and tools instead of doing the normal self-deprecating thing that we like to do. And we're also about to come out with a couples program that we are going to coach together, just helping couples come back to love, learn how to work out conflict better, dialogue better. Sorry, I just got totally thrown off by that. Dialogue in a more effective way. So we have those things coming up, and you can find links to all of that on my Instagram at Tracy LaFleur. And sister, what about you?
Well, it's so funny because, of course, all of this just always ties in together. And I'm just going to interject and say, from my breakups have come some of the biggest life lessons and pivotal moments that I've ever had in my life. So there's always lessons to be learned throughout life. Relationships are our teachers, and breakups also have so much that we can learn from. So I'm really excited about this program to really show people there's a message from their mess and from their breakup. But for me, how I feel like this ties into the both of you, which I love, is I am a woman's life coach, and I help women to build their self-confidence and self-trust to live this big, fully fulfilled, I call it fuck yes life. So it's leading with your intuition, which I think ultimately can also lead into attracting the right partner, into finding a job that lights you up. And I do a lot of embodiment work, regulating the nervous system and clearing out trauma. So I take one-on-one clients. So if anybody is resonating with this, you can probably, I don't know. Do I have an Instagram link on here? I'm not sure. You can hit up Tracy and she can let.
I'll send you right. But it's building up your love muscle for yourself first, so you could be the space for the relationship. It is all tied together. Like we always say,
it all starts with you.
us.
Self-love.
Totally.
Finding love starts with you. Self-love starts with you. And that is definitely my message from my mess.
And Tate, is there something, are you guys cooking something up, or what's going on in your world?
Yeah. So I'm very passionate, not to get on a soapbox, but my work or my career, my life has been spent in business, building businesses. And something I'm pretty passionate about is in my travels, there's not a lot of men that want to stand up in the room anymore. There's not a lot of men that are confident in their own shoes. And this is showing up all over with relationships and things. You guys have daughters. You two have daughters. Do you want your daughters ending up with one of these men who doesn't know what they want, who doesn't want to lead? So
that's not happening.
Yeah. Well,
thanks to you, Tate. Work on them now, please.
Yes.
Well,
do the work.
I have my own son, and I'm getting some tough, harsh realizations that maybe I'm not even doing that great of a job with him. So it's really trying to set the stage for men to get their voice back, to be confident, to stand up in front of people, to speak, and to really start to get back to what true masculinity is. And I'm not talking the alpha asshole that people think, I got to be an alpha. That means you got it. No, it's not like that at all. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be sensitive. You have to be willing to do the work. You have to want to share feelings, things like that. And so I'm working locally with another guy to start, kind of like maybe even a retreat type thing for men. And then obviously what Tracy said, her and I, it's been a wonderful experience with her. So we're going to try to share that with people so that they can, hopefully get to experience what euphoria I've experienced with her.
Oh. Yay. Well, I will sign up everyone for that and join you and watch that entire experience. So this concludes Love and Healing. We will be back in another couple of weeks. And I'd like to really tackle, Trisha, what you talked about with the body and the neuropsychology and all of those good things. So if you've got questions, hit us up in our DMs, Tracy LaFleur, Carmelia Ray, and we will make sure that wherever this is published, that you will also have access and links to Tate and Trisha, our special guests, and likely to return again. So it was such an amazing time with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you guys.
We'll see you on Clubhouse tomorrow, 1 p.m. EST. We do a Clubhouse room every Wednesday, 10 a.m.